Peace and blessings, everybody. I hope you are doing excellent. Welcome to Storytime. I am adjusting the camera because, once again, I am trying out multiple platforms for streaming this story time with the goal to reach as many people as possible and to help them to have great experiences with literacy. Um, So the story that I have chosen for today is called Desmond and the Very Mean Word. So, excuse me. I hope you enjoy the story. It is written by Desmond Tutu and Douglas Carlton Abrams and illustrated by A.G. Ford. So, this is the book. And I would like to start off by reading the author's note of this story, of this book, excuse me. It says, this story was inspired by something that actually happened to me when I was growing up in South Africa. Father Trevor, which is a character in the story, is based on Father Trevor Huddleston, who was my childhood hero and really would let children play marbles in his office. Father Trevor mentioned me and countless other young people. Mentored, me and countless other young people. When I was sick in the hospital for 20 months, he came to visit me, one poor boy in his whole parish, every single week. At another time, he asked Louis Armstrong for a trumpet, which he gave to a young boy named Hugh. Hugh Masekade, oh my goodness, Masekela, I'm not sure how to pronounce this word, became one of South Africa's greatest trumpeters. Wow. Father Trevor, who eventually became Archbishop Huddleston, was one of the most important members of the anti-apartheid movement, the name given to all those who work together for an equal and just South Africa. He truly did care about everything and in so many ways taught us the secrets of love and forgiveness. In his honor, my wife, Leah, and I named our first son Trevor. So I thought it was important, and I'm going to show you a picture of the gentleman who you're speaking of here. I thought it was important to read the author's note at the beginning of the story um, because sometimes we overlook those things. And one of the reasons why people write books is to share their stories. And this is an aspect of his life that he wanted to share with us. And I appreciate him for putting it into words. This past Tuesday, I announced that I was going to have a special guest um, who was going to share his story in honor of Black History Month. But he unfortunately had another appointment, so we have to reschedule. If he's able to join the live before I get off with this, then we will still have him on. But if not, we'll see him again very soon. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy the story. Desmond was very proud of his new bicycle. He was the only child in the whole township who had one, and he couldn't wait to show it to Father Trevor. Father Trevor was kind and loving, and when he laughed, his eyes sparkled and his whole body shook. Father Trevor didn't care if you were rich or poor, black or white, old or young. He raised his hat and smiled at everyone he met. He especially loved the children and would even let them play marbles on the floor of his office. where he met with many important people who came to visit. As Desmond sped down the dirt road, he admired the bicycle's shiny black body and the white stripe in the rear fender. Oh, it was beautiful. And the illustrations in this book are beautiful as well. Look at that. When he turned the corner, he saw it going, when he turned the corner, he saw a gang of boys, and they saw him. They stepped onto the road and blocked his path. He didn't dare stop. What if they took his bike? Desmond gripped the handlebar and raced toward the boys, dust flying behind him. The boys scattered out of the way, but the tallest, a red-haired boy, spat out a very mean word. The other boys laughed and shouted that mean word again and again. Desmond pedaled away as fast as he could. His heart pounded and his chest ached. When Desmond got to Father Trevor's office, he threw down his bicycle. His teeth were clenched, and the mean word kept repeating itself over and over inside his head, like echoes in a dark cave. Father Trevor looked up at Desmond as Desmond burst into his office. "What's wrong?" he asked, excusing himself from a meeting. Father Trevor always knew when something was wrong. "Nothing," Desmond said. Father Trevor bent down until he was looking directly into Desmond's face. His smiling eyes always made you feel like you were the most important person in the world. "You can tell me anything." Desmond glanced down at his dusty bare feet and finally muttered, "Some boys, they shouted a very mean word at me." "I'm sorry that happened," Father Trevor said. "They hurt your feelings, didn't they?" Desmond's shoulders relaxed a little, and he nodded. "Can you forgive them?" Father Trevor asked. "No, never," Desmond said, his fists balled at his sides. "I will get them back." Father Trevor sighed. That is a problem, Desmond. You will get them back, and they will get you back, and soon our whole world will be filled with nothing but getting back." That night, Desmond lay in bed, trying to read his comic book by candlelight. Instead of the words on the page, he kept seeing the mean word written over and over again. The next day, no matter how fast he pedaled to school, Desmond couldn't leave the mean word behind. All day the mean word followed him around like a shadow in the hot sun. As he rode home that afternoon, he saw the boys again. His hands and face felt hot. Maybe, he thought, If I got even, he would stop thinking about what they had called him. So he raced past the boys and shouted the meanest word he could think of. He could hear the boys running after him. Desmond pedaled hard, his heart pounding. Finally, he looked back. The boys had given up the chase. At first, Desmond felt proud, but very soon he began to feel something else. It was not a good feeling. The mean word he had said left a bitter taste in his mouth. Thank you for joining my story time. After school the next day, Desmond went to Father Trevor's. Are you feeling any better, Desmond? Father Trevor asked as he sat on the floor shooting marbles with the children. Desmond shook his head from side to side and frowned. When people say mean words to us, we often feel ashamed of who we are, Father Trevor said. Thank you. Yes, I miss story times. I enjoyed reading. I enjoyed having the opportunities to read at school as well. So, peace, Brother Daniel. Thank you for joining. Yes, I enjoyed reading when I was a child in class, and I enjoyed reading to my students in the classroom. So, for me, it's a pleasure being able to do this. There's nothing like a good story. There's nothing like a good book. Storybooks, books that empower us. Storybooks do empower us, and this is a really great story. So I'm going to continue. Um, and I have something to share afterwards, of course. So when people say mean words to us, we often feel ashamed of who we are, Father Trevor said. They can make us feel a little less lovable, but it's not true. Lowering his face close to the floor, Father Trevor lined up a marble in the chalk circle. Desmond, Desmond, everything we do matters. If we smile or if we frown, if we say something nice or something mean, Father Trevor flicked the shooter with his thumb and hit the marble out of the circle. When we hurt someone, Father Trevor said as he got up, it hurts us too. I absolutely can relate to this. Um, I can relate. I have a similar story. That night, Father Trevor dropped in to see Desmond's parents. Desmond carried a pot of tea into the living room and then went outside. Usually, he would try to listen to what the adults were saying, but tonight he just wanted to be alone. Sitting on the doorsteps, Desmond looked up at the starry sky, an empty ache in his chest. Excuse me. Desmond looked up at the starry sky, yes, an empty ache in his chest. He thought he could even see the mean word written on the face of the moon. That's a very nice bicycle you have, Father Trevor said, as he sat down next to Desmond. The black paint gleamed in the moonlight. Desmond had forgotten to show his bike to Father Trevor. It didn't matter now. He just shrugged and turned his back. He didn't want to talk, not even to Father Trevor. Still thinking about that mean word, Father Trevor asked. Desmond, Desmond slowly nodded. Our hearts are fragile and easily hurt. This is why we were given a way to heal them. It's called forgiveness. How can I forgive them? They haven't said they were sorry. You don't need to wait until someone says they're sorry to forgive them. You have the power to forgive whenever you are ready. I'm not ready, Desmond said. That's fine, Desmond. Only you will know when you are. Father Trevor got up to leave. Desmond felt a lump in his throat. Father Trevor said very softly, let me tell you a secret, Desmond. When you forgive someone, you free yourself from what they have said or done. It's like magic. A week later, Desmond was riding his bicycle down the street when he saw the boy with red hair surrounded by two older boys. I'll teach you, one of them said, dunking dunking the head of the red-haired boy into a bucket of water. Seconds later, the boy managed to raise his head, his wet hair standing up like a carrot top. He looked like he was about to cry. A woman appeared at the door. Leave your brother alone. You are as bad as your father. Now get in this house before I. She didn't finish her sentence before the brothers were inside, and the door had slammed shut. To Desmond's surprise, he felt sorry for the red-haired boy. A few days later, Desmond ran into the neighborhood market to buy his father a newspaper. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a flash of red. Turning, Desmond realized it was the red-haired boy. He was standing alone in front of the candy counter. It was filled with lollipops and delicious chocolates. Desmond wanted to say something, but what? Thinking of the mean word he had shouted at the boy, Desmond finally blurted out, I'm sorry for what I said. The boy looked at him speechless. Finally, he stammered, I guess well, Desmond didn't need the boy to say he was sorry. It would have been nice, but as Father Trevor had said, it really wasn't necessary. I forgive you, Desmond said quietly. As soon as the words were out of his mouth, Desmond felt a little stronger and a little braver and stood up a little taller. After buying the newspaper, Desmond went outside. The red-haired boy was sitting on a milk crate under a shady tree. The boy stood up and moved toward him. Desmond froze. The boy looked around to see if anyone was watching and then handed Desmond a piece of candy. For just a moment, Desmond looked into the other boy's eyes and smiled. Then he hurried to get back to his bike, first popping the piece of chocolate in his mouth. As the sun set behind the houses, Desmond pedaled home. Fast. Hold on. As the sun set behind the houses, Desmond pedaled home, fast, not out of fear, but out of joy. The cool wind felt good against his face. He wanted the sweet taste of chocolate on his tongue to last forever. Slowly, he spread his arms out wide, as if he were flying. At last, Desmond knew what it felt like to be free. It was as if he could embrace the whole world at his outstretched arms. And that is the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed this story, Desmond and the Very Mean Word. I mean, I'm glad they didn't state the mean word. I'm sure plenty of us can think of a number of mean words that we've encountered, and I didn't want to trigger anybody. But it was a very, very good lesson in this book about forgiveness. And I like that in the story, um, Father Trevor didn't force Desmond to try to forgive when he wasn't ready to do so. Um, Sometimes things happen to us, like a mean word or mean actions, and we're offended and our feelings are hurt. But what Father Trevor was saying was actually true. Forgiveness is for you. It's not even for another person. And it doesn't mean that it's an easy thing to do because of the hurt feelings. And sometimes you don't feel like that person deserves forgiveness. And that's your mind set about it. You're thinking about, well, if I forgive that person, it's almost like I'm just speaking from my own experience that it felt to me like, well, forgiving them is like letting that person get away with something and they were wrong. So, but forgiving the person doesn't mean that they weren't wrong in their actions. And the forgiveness really is for you. It's not for the other person. Sometimes the people who offend us in words and actions may never apologize. They may never feel any remorse, and they may never care. And so, you as a person, what are you going to do? I mean, are you going to just let that uh, affect you for the rest of your life? You have to be okay. Life keeps going. And I only say that to say that, don't let yourself get stuck because of other people's actions. Every day, people encounter mean words, mean experiences, and atrocities behind other people just doing horrific things. And but we must be okay, for ourselves. And forgiving that person doesn't even necessarily mean that you're going to them and apologizing or saying, I forgive you, especially if that person doesn't ask for forgiveness or doesn't want or doesn't care. It's not about them. But for yourself, um, give yourself peace and don't allow yourself to be stuck in whatever that situation is. And let your life, let your life go on without giving them your energy or a second thought, which is easier said than done, but it is possible. So that was my rant about forgiveness. I mean, I had a situation where this was a long time ago, I've had many situations where people were just mean. I mean, in school, especially middle school or junior high school, man, those are some rough years. Dealing with mean children. And a lot of that comes from their own experiences of having other people be mean to them. And I remember, just like Desmond, oh, and this person caught me like on the spot in a front of a whole classroom, and boop, I had some words for that person, and they were embarrassed. And for that brief second, I was just like, okay. But similar to Desmond, I felt like I lowered myself, letting myself say what I said. And I determined that I would never let anybody bring me down like that again. Lower me to their level was how I looked at it. It's not necessary to take yourself there and lower yourself. So that's how I looked at it. And I don't think I've used that word in a very long time, at least not since then, because I thought more of myself and I put the focus on me and who I was and who I wanted to be, um, not to become that person who offended me and to be like them, because that was not me. So I hope you enjoyed this story. I hope that you are encouraged to read more stories. If you want to find this book, this is Desmond and the Very Mean Word, and it is written by Archbishop Desmond Tutu and Douglas Carlton Abrams, and is illustrated by A.G. Ford. I hope you enjoyed this story time. I hope that this gave you a great experience with literacy. If you all would like to book me for story time, click the link in my bio. I am available for story time. I'm also available for tutoring and consultation. I have been in education for over 25 years, and my specialization is with literacy and reading. So if you need help, click the link in my bio. And until the next time, I hope you enjoyed the story. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.